Good morning. We will call our meeting to order, and we will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Brister? Shall we stand for the pledge? Oh, she's going to ask it.
Chairman Rutledge, President Belton, member of the board, and distinguished guests, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
And thank you. Just one second, I'm sorry. Dr. Whitfield.
Yes, we kind of did this out of order, but let me tell you guys about the young lady who just read the pledge.
That's right, you were supposed to introduce.
It's okay, it all goes down good.
My apologies.
Farron is a rising sixth grader at the very awesome, well-run Southern University Laboratory School. In 2017, she was on the Royal Court of Little Miss Southern Lab. She's been attending Southern University Laboratory School since the first grade, and hopefully she will continue on to Southern University when she finishes the 12th grade. Currently, she is in the marching band and is on the dance team at Joy Church of Baton Rouge. Farron is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Brown. Mr. Brown is a 1992 graduate of Southern University, and Mr. Brown, I'm sorry, is a 1992 graduate, and Mrs. Brown is a 1998 graduate of Southern University, making them both in their mid-20s. So thank y'all for sharing your beautiful daughter with us, and thank you, Farron, for that wonderful Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Dr. Whitfield, and thanks to the young lady. Members, I want to take a moment of personal privilege here to address a media inquiry that I received on about 11 o'clock last night. I frankly did not see it until this morning as I was walking out of the door headed to the meeting. The inquiry came from WBRZ, and the caption of the email was, "Who is the chairman of the Southern University Board of Supervisors?" I looked in the mirror and it was still me. For many years, almost from the very inception of this board, we have had a representative from all of the major metropolitan areas throughout this state. Interestingly, perhaps for maybe the last 2 or 3 years, we have not had a representative on this board who resided in the city of New Orleans. As you know, longtime board member Clayton decided to move on to some other intended aspirations that he has, which left a vacancy. The governor's office called me and asked me to assume a seat in the 6th Congressional District, which would create a vacancy in the at-large district, which would facilitate the appointment of somebody from the city of New Orleans, i.e. Mr. Shorty. From the very first conversation that I had with the governor's office, at their request that I transition from one seat to another, I made it clear to them that I wanted it done and coordinated in such a way that it did not create a vacancy. We did that. I also took the step on my own of consulting with board's counsel about this and asked him to research it and to give me his advice, because if he told me otherwise, I was fully prepared to place an item on the agenda to rectify the matter. He provided me his counsel. I was satisfied with his counsel. And at this point, I'm going to ask him to relay to you the advice that he has given me, which has also been embedded in a response to the media inquiry that we received. Mr. DeQueer.
Yeah, you remain the duly elected chairman because there was no interruption in your service from your at-large seat to your 6th congressional seat. The only way there would have been a vacancy is if your service had been interrupted, and from the information you provided us, your appointment to the 6th district seat was concomitant with your resignation from the at-large seat, so there was no interruption.
Thank you. I'm prepared to rely on the advice of counsel. As far as I'm concerned, this is a non-issue, and I'm ready to move forward. We've got a lot of very important work to do if this institution is to live up to her noble precepts and often challenging mission. And I believe each of you are like-minded. And based on that, unless I don't see anybody requesting to speak, we will move forward with a roll call. Mr. President.
Yes. Attorney Rutledge,
Here, as chairman.
Dr. Tolbert,
Here as vice chairman.
Ms. Bartholomew, Dr. Davis, Mr. Fondell, Dr. Gaines, Mr. Gillum, Reverend Henry, Mr. Hilliard, Ms. Jeffers, Attorney McGee, Attorney Shorty, Mrs. Smith, Dr. Tarver, Dr. Whitfield, Ms. Williams. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move now to item 3. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been. Oh, I apologize. There was no invocation on the list that I'm following. I apologize. We'll stop now and turn it over to the Vice Chairman, Dr. Talbot, to introduce the person who will provide our invocation.
Interim chairman, Mr. Chair, at the, Chancellor rather, at the Ag Center, interim chancellor at the Ag Center, Dr. Calvin Reuben Walker, will do the invocation for us at this time.
Chairman Rutledge, our President Chancellor Ray Belton, and Vice Chair Samuel Talbot, distinguished board, let us, and those who are here, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Bless us as we do thy will. Give us grace to endure and power to accomplish as we do your will and the business of Southern University A&M College. And a special blessing to Attorney Winston DeQueer's mother.
Yes.
We wish her Godspeed. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Dr. Walker, we have a certificate of appreciation for you providing spiritual enrichment by doing the invocation for us today.
Thank you, Dr. Talbot, and thank you, Dr. Walker. Now, we will move. Did we adopt the agenda? There was a motion. Okay. All right. I believe there was a motion and a second to adopt the agenda before we move to the invocation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Item 4, are there any public comments regarding an item on today's agenda? Any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to item 5, special presentations. First item is 5A, the Above and Beyond Award. Chancellor Pierre.
Good morning. On behalf of the administration, faculty, staff, and students at Southern University Law Center, I am proud to present Ms. LaTanya. Will you please come forward? Who is a very hardworking and diligent employee in the Office of Registrar and Records, and I would like for her colleagues to also please stand and come forward, because they do so much work that really, really is so important, because this institution, the Law Center, could not operate without all of the work that they do. They basically are the really, really important people that drive what we do on a daily basis by keeping our records straight, by allowing us to put together data such that I'm going to help present to you today. And they service the students. Many times they are the first people the students meet. And their service to those students makes life a lot better for those students. And that's what we have to do as an organization, because when we provide great service to students, we make their experience a better experience, and they leave here feeling more committed to the mission of the Southern University Law Center and the Southern University system. And you know, this young lady has worked very, very hard. She just does so many things. She takes on so many tasks, and she's learned so much, and she can do anything at any time. And I'm so proud to see that she is here so that we can honor her with the Above and Beyond Award for this month, the month of May. And I'd ask for her to make a presentation.
Good morning. I just want to say thank you. I am truly honored and grateful to be recognized today. I thank Chancellor Pierre. I thank my staff in the office, my supervisor, Ms. Lee, and I'll just keep striving to be better and greater and continue to do my job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, thank you. On behalf of our board, we want to join your colleagues in appreciatively acknowledging you and the work that you do over in the Law Center. And I have known you for some time. She literally grew up on this campus. Sister and mother were employees here on the Baton Rouge campus. So you're no stranger to the university. And we want to thank you for your service and present you with this Above and Beyond Award plaque and a certificate which appreciatively acknowledges your many contributions. Thank you very, very, very much. Oh, we're going to take a brief picture.
Okay, thank you again, and many congratulations to Ms. Wright on receiving the Above and Beyond Award. This is a good initiative, and I think a lot of people, based on what I hear from Ms. Banks and some of the other people, Mrs. Smith, under whose leadership it began, are really excited and walk away with a very high sense of appreciation when they're just merely recognized for their hard work and contributions. Sometimes people just show up and keep their head down and work, and so it's really good when we can appreciatively acknowledge the work of our employees. So we congratulate her again. We'll move now to item B, which are special presentations. Our first presentation will be to Ms. Jeffers, our student member. This is her last meeting, and We certainly appreciate your service, Ms. Jeffers. We know that you're going on to bigger and better things in the legal profession. We appreciate your service, your hard work on this board, the perspective that you brought, seriousness of purpose. I want to also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Donald Dunbar. Are you out there, Mr. Dunbar? If you'll stand, he's the SGA president for the Baton Rouge campus, and he will be joining the board as the student member at the next meeting. And so we look forward to his service as well, and we will turn the mic over to Ms. Jeffers for any parting comments that you'd like to provide.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Definitely thank you to the system. You all gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. So I'm not going to try not to cry. I've been crying for the past 2 weeks because I'm extremely thankful. I'm a small town girl from the east side of Columbus, Georgia, and I never imagined that I would be in the rooms that I've been in. So Southern University has given me a lot. I do want to just give one thanks to Miss Tanya Freeman, who actually just walked in. Miss Freeman, can you wave your hand? Miss Tanya Freeman has been very integral in creating a lot of things for me and my classmates, such as opportunities for jobs and things of that nature. I know she worked with Entergy, the big deal that the system got. She was integral in that as well. So I just want to recognize her for that today and thank her for that. And I want to thank each and every person on this board, because serving with you has taught me a lot about working well with others and playing well with others in the kindergarten terminology. Also, I feel like you all have helped me to develop as not only a woman, but a leader. So I think that my experience here at the Southern University System Board of Supervisors is going to take me far, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to my chancellor, my law center, Vice Chancellor Roderick White. He's been a great help in my life. Ms. DeAndrea Lee, who guided us through these graduation processes the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to stop there because the tears are about to come. So I thank you. I appreciate all of you, and God bless.
Thank you very much.
We are so grateful again for your many contributions and service on our board, and so we present these to you in commemoration of your service, and it's a wonderful plaque. All right. Come on, we got to take a picture.
Pat McGee and I trust Mr. Shorter will join in this request that Ms. Jeffers leave the state. because we don't want the competition, John. As smart as she might put us out of business. We have one more special presentation that we would like to make. You know, we have a lot of people who do some really amazing things here at the university and throughout the community. One way that we acknowledge them, obviously, is through the Above and Beyond Award. But we have one of our own who was highly honored in a very special way this week. Dr. Robin Merrick was honored, one of, I believe, 8 distinguished women in business. And many of us were able to attend the luncheon this past Tuesday. And it was very, very well attended. And I will tell you, out of some very heavy hitters, Robin had more tables in there than they did. And so we want to appreciatively acknowledge you, Dr. Merrick, and your work, and you being selected as an influential woman in business in the state of Louisiana. And so we present this to you on behalf of the board and system.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. President. Thank you for this. I am indeed shocked, indeed shocked. So when we got the call from the business report for this recognition, I was shocked then as well. And very happy to represent the university at the event, and it was very clear that the university was represented in that my sister made certain that everything about our tables were blue and gold. So it was indeed all about Southern University, and I'm very pleased to be in the role that I'm in and able to share things about the university. So again, thank you, and thank you all for being there. We did have a great time on Tuesday, so thank you so much.
Okay, I think Dr. Merrick is back on the hot seat with item 5C, the legislative update.
Morning again, Mr. President, members of the board. I had my head down working on this when you called me a moment ago, so let me regroup. This week marks the close of the 7th week of this year's 9-week legislative session. As you know, it was a regular session and it was a fiscal-only session, so it's been full, focused on primarily the fiscal matters of the state. So as you recall, the priorities this year that we outlined centered around continued stabilized funding, mandated cost, faculty salary increases, and equitable funding for our land grant mission. And since the last board meeting, President Belton, Executive Vice President Ammons, both have presented before the Senate Finance Committee and House Appropriations Committees, respectively. The President and members of the Legislative Committee of the Board and administrators have met with the Black Caucus, outlining our priorities a few times throughout the course of the session. And we're working closely with our legislative consultants, Southern Strategy, and the legislative team that we've assembled here throughout the system as we close out this session that's going to end on June 6th. So we're just days away from the end of the session. On April 24th, I think all of you heard, or some of you were there, for our first ever HBCU Day at the Capitol. We presented you all with bags from the HBCU initiative with the Board of Regents. You should have received those yesterday, and they're probably at your desks right now, as well as the introduction of our new lapel pins that you should have received as well. And I hope you will be happy to wear those to showcase the university. And so this was the first time that we all came together with participation from the state's public and private HBCUs all in one place. We held a press conference to a standing room only crowd. We allowed our students to have a showcase on the steps of the Capitol. And we had a media package that was put together and disseminated across the state. Some of you should have received that, or all of you rather, should have received that in an email message from us, and you may have seen it in your respective media markets across the state as well. So in terms of our bill tracking, I won't go through all of the bills that we're tracking. Those of you on the legislative committee received a report from us outlining all of those bills that we're tracking, and I'll just give you a quick highlight of a couple of them. Of course, House Bill 105 is our appropriations bill this year. It is not the usual House Bill 1 because of the way revenue estimating came in this year. So we're closely watching that bill in terms of our appropriations from the state. House Bill 392 is going to be the supplemental appropriations bill, where we stand to receive some additional funding for current year operations as well as next year's operations. That will help the system as a whole and the Ag Center specifically. So we're working on those things, and we'll be working on those two bills throughout the course of this weekend when the Senate Finance Committee comes back to convene over the weekend. We're tracking a few bills germane to we're tracking all of the bills germane to our medical marijuana initiative, and those are faring well in keeping with the university's potential in the production and research of medicinal marijuana. One of the bills I'll call to your attention is House Bill 491 by Representative Clay Scheck-Snyder, and that's the bill that will allow the regulation of the production of industrial hemp. That's not something that we started off doing, but it's certainly something that we can enter into that market, and our Ag Center will be leading the way with that. And so I hope that the written updates that we've provided throughout the session that you've received through the President have been useful. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions about any legislation or any of our efforts throughout the session.
Any questions? Dr. Talbot, as chair of the committee, is there anything you'd like to add to the report? I don't see any requests. Yeah? Yes. Okay. I don't see any requests to speak, so thank you, Dr. Merrick.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We'll go to 5D, the 2019 bar passage race. Chancellor Pierre.
Good morning again, Chairman Rutledge and members, honorable members of the board. We have a PowerPoint that I think was loaded up, but it's a little small as I started to realize that my eyes aren't as good as they used to be, and so I provided you with something that you can read that Mr. Renee is passing out with some other information I think is important to you.
I can get a clicker for you, just a second.
Okay. So there has been a lot of discussions with the American Bar Association Council on Legal Education and Accreditation, Committee on Legal Education and Accreditation, and the council as it relates to what extent should bar passage be the main driver or the most important driver in an accreditation of a law school. And that has been subject to debate over the last few years. Myself and all of the other HBCU law school deans have advocated that the one standard for all schools across various jurisdictions is the wrong standard. It will have unintended consequences, and we actually got the ABA House of Delegates to agree with us on 2 occasions. Unfortunately, based upon the ABA rule, the council and the committee as a separate entity for purposes of accrediting law schools can, after 2 unsuccessful attempts to get the ABA House of Delegates to pass the measure, can choose to enact the measure without the House of Delegates' consent, which they did on May 17th, last Friday. So this has been an important thing that we have been dealing with, and we have been working very diligently as a law center administration and faculty and staff and students, because students are very important in this process to understand what they must do to help us deal with the changing environment in legal education. So currently the standard is, as the ABA has adopted it, and we have been using that standard to measure our progress for the last 3 years, is that a cohort class has to pass, at least 75% of them have to pass a bar exam within 2 years of graduation. So what happens now is we measure for the ABA and for national purposes classes by cohorts. So the numbers I'm going to present to you include a combination of what we did in February, which is the latest bar exam results for the state of Louisiana, and also what we have done with respect to the cohort group that graduated in 2016. So what happens is the 2019 results are based upon the ultimate results based upon the cohort from 3 years prior. And so next year in 2020, there will be an ultimate bar pass rate number for those students who graduated in the cohort of 2017. So let's see if I'm doing this right. Maybe it's this way. No. Okay, great. So the first slide is basically the numbers for the February bar exam, Louisiana bar exam, and we get this straight from the Louisiana Supreme Court. We did well, very well with our first-time bar passes rate. We were above 70%. The only school that performed better than we did was LSU. We outperformed both Loyola and Tulane in that category, and we outperformed the state average. So that's a positive, and actually this is the first time we've actually outperformed Loyola and Tulane in an administration of an exam, and at the same time outperformed the state average. The second piece is the, so that's one number. The second number we have actually at the top of the chart behind you is the number related to overall passes rate. And we were right in the pack with everybody. We were right at about 56%, which was about the same as Loyola, Tulane. LSU was a little bit above 60. So again, we're right there with the schools that we're competing with in the state of Louisiana. And when you'll see the other things that I'll show to you, how important these numbers are, it shows what we're doing that is really remarkable, because it's a testament to the students who come in and work hard and really dedicate themselves to becoming professionals.
Chancellor Pierre, before you move on, and I just want to make sure that I understand the all takers and the first time takers. I want to make sure everybody on the board appreciates. So the 90 number, the 90 students under all takers would be those students that took the bar in July and February?
And even before then, we could have students coming from 2016 or 2015. It just depends on when they originally graduated. So that's anybody.
Can you go back to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this isn't just a 1 year snapshot of those 90?
No, this is from multiple years.
You know how many?
Well, we know from the first time takers, you subtract that from the all, and that's how we know that came from previous years.
So 50,
34 took it for the first time. There were 90 overall, so 56 took it that were students who had graduated from previous years.
and is this the results from when they took it in July or when they took it in February?
February.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because the July number would have been higher than 34, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think I
Right.
can-
And for most of you, most of the 34 were students, since we have that part-time evening cohort, most of those students would have graduated in December of 2018, that we actually had a ceremony for them in January of 2019.
And this may be in a later slide, but have you disaggregated your results between those who are in the traditional program and those in the evening program?
We haven't done it on a long-term basis, but this gives us an idea of what this recent class did. And they, you know, now we got to measure them against the class that's going to take the exam in July. We know they outperformed the class that took the exam in July 2018. Now we got to measure them against the class that's going to take it in 2019. And Ms. Jeffers has assured me that that class will perform at least at 75% and going north towards 80+%. Right, Ms. Jeffers?
Okay. That's a lofty goal. All right. Okay.
All right. Now,
Please continue.
all right, next. Next slide. So this next slide represents the ultimate bar pass rate. This is from the American Bar Association, which, again, you have a handout. And I have it two-sided for you because I want you to, first of all, recognize that Ms. Courtney Richardson was very, very helpful in helping me put together this piece of data. So what we did, we said, okay, this is the Southern University Law Center pass rate, which 85.29%. So there are two things that we have to recognize. So one, we are the top performing HBCU law school in this category. All right? And Mr. Renee saw an article. I had not seen the article. Thank you for Mr. Renee for pointing it out to me. And he shared it with us. And we are the top performing HBCU law school. There's no doubt about that. But the second most significant thing is I want you to look at the list of schools that perform below us in terms of this rate across the country, and look at the entering LSAT scores for those students and the tuitions that those students paid for attending those schools that did not perform as well as we did. Okay? And I give you an example. American University in Washington, D.C. The LSAT scores for those students, the top, so the 75th means the top 25%. The 25th means the lowest 25th percent. So students average 160 at the top of the school level and 155 on the LSAT at the bottom. All right, our students average on the 75th percentile, 146 versus 142. And their tuition is 3.5 times more than the tuition at Southern University Law Center. Okay? So we're talking about blue blood rich kids going to American University, and for the most part, a large percentage of our students are first generation, either law school students or first generation college students. Okay? And needless to say, the number of minority students at American University is not nearly as close as the number of minority students at Southern University Law Center. So again, that's an example of how we are hitting the market. I went back and I checked against the 3 other law schools in the state of Louisiana, which their numbers mirror what American University does in terms of LSAT and tuition, except for LSU. So LSU led the pack with 92.45% ultimate pass rate. That means we're within 7 points. We're within 7 points of LSU. Tulane had 91.58%. We're within 6 points of Tulane. and Loyola was 88.08, which is right about the national average. We're within 3 points of Loyola. Okay? So again, that says that we are competing at a rate and a pace that, based upon entering credentials, we should not be able to compete against. Now, to really show you how significant that number is, I want to have you look at a school that has students in the same sort of range and predictors as we do. That would be Appalachian Law School, which 75th, 25th numbers are 147 and 143, and their rate is 69.77%, and their tuition is $35,500 a year. I want to point out another school that is very similar to us, that's in the local area, a little different, but I'll call them similar, Mississippi College, because we have been fighting with them tooth and nail for students, particularly out of North Louisiana, out of that Monroe area, for those students. So their entering credentials are 151 and 145. Their tuition is $35,510, and yet their passage rate was 79.1%, below our passage rates. Okay, now here's the other interesting thing that caught me a little bit by surprise, and explains to me why we are beginning to get so many out-of-state residents that are applying to law school here at Southern University Law Center. I'll show that to you in one of the charts that we handed out. So Howard University in Washington, D.C., their top students score at about 155, and the bottom quartile of their students is 149. And we have typically admitted about 4 students from Howard that are below that 149 score. They're excellent students, but they're not even being accepted at Howard University. Dr. Ammons was my chief recruiter by name. I used his name often for the last couple of years to recruit students out of Florida, because Florida A&M even has a higher entering credential number than we do. And I have used that kind of evidence to say, we love you more than your own institution does, Florida A&M graduates. And we got Dr. Ammons here, and when he comes here, he'll take good care of you. Right, Dr. Ammons? So again, this is very important. So when you look at the numbers, you'll see that we're doing very, very well. And based upon what we know now for next year's reporting cycle, the 2017 cohort, now there's a group that graduated in December of 2017, so their 4th time within 2 years. In other words, the 4 examinations that the bar is given is going to be in July. So we're pushing that group to get our numbers up. But it looks like we're about the 82 to 83% rate right now. And if we can get a few of them over, we could be at a 90% ultimate pass rate for the next period. But we definitely want to at least equal what we did with this cycle, again, going forward.
Chancellor Pierre, can you pause for a question, please?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to do it now, Dr. Davis, at the end? You want to ask it now? No, let him I'll ask. Okay.
Okay. All right. The next slide is the area we have to continually to improve, which is our first-time bar passage rate, all right, first-time bar passage rate. So for the 2018 group, our first-time bar passage rate was 60.16. So the February group has already exceeded that number. So our goal is, if we can get that first-time rate to be between 70 and 75%, we will clearly get to the 90 percentile ranking. All right. So you can again see that at 60.16, while that's not the best rate, we're not alone. You can look at a lot of schools with much lower rates, with tuitions that are much higher than ours, and entering LSAT scores that are much higher than ours. For example, a school that Dr. Ammons is familiar with, Elon University, kind of came into the market in North Carolina. You can look that they have a much higher tuition than we do, more than double our tuition, and the entering credentials of their students at the bottom quartile would not even be, they would match essentially what we consider our top quartile. And so we've outperformed them, and there are other schools like a Golden Gate University, the same thing with Florida A&M. And some of these schools, again, are significant players in their markets where they are. So these aren't just secondhand players in the market. University of Dayton is another one in Ohio, University of San Francisco. These are significant players in their market. The next thing I want to pass on to next is, go on the next slide, this is the news release about the ABA that, quote, passed their tougher bar pass standard for law schools that came out last Friday. And again, we have been anticipating this, so we have been doing the work to be prepared for this over the last few years. And to borrow a phrase from Dr. Ammons, if you don't measure it, you don't monitor it. Right, Dr. Ammons? So we've been measuring and monitoring. See, I'm learning something from you, Dr. Ammons. All right, so it concludes the PowerPoint. Now, I provided you with some other information that I just want to go over briefly that's not in the PowerPoint, and a couple of handouts. Number one is this one sheet here that what I did was I looked at the number of applicants so far this year versus the number of students that put down what we call seat deposits. So the way it works is you usually admit about 50% of the people who actually apply to law school. In other words, the students are applying to 7, 10, 12, 15 law schools. They're just spreading their applications all over the country. But of that amount, your yield, which is how many students you actually admit, if you can get about 50% or higher, you're doing very, very well. In fact, Southern University led the nation for at least 2 or 3 years in yield. In other words, when we admit a student, we've convinced them that we're the right place for them to come. So I want you to look at the number. First of all, this is the applicant count as of last week, 735, and that count is rising every day. First thing I want you to recognize is compare the number of out-of-state applicants with the number of in-state applicants. So I've heard the arguments that we're admitting all these students from out-of-state schools. Well, we couldn't even make a class. This school couldn't function if we relied on in-state applicants to carry the school, period. We couldn't even make it. You know, you might as well put us out of business, all right? So that, and then the other point I want you to recognize is look at the number of female applicants as compared to male applicants. Huge number difference. So females are leading the charge. Thank God for the females who are coming to law school, because I don't know how many law schools wouldn't even function if it weren't for the number of females. And that represents the future of the profession. It's the women who are going to be leading the profession. In terms of the number of students that have put down seat deposits, so that's how we know if you're serious. You put down a seat deposit, and our seat deposit is not a large seat deposit. It's only $50. Some law schools, their seat deposits are $500. Some of them are $1,000. Some of them are, but our seat deposit is very, very low. But you'll see that we've already got 215 students that have put down seat deposits, and that's likely the number that are going to come. From that number, we say about 90 to 95% are going to show up on day one, okay? You can see the breakdown between our full-time day, part-time day, and our evening program, and we're at the point that we're going to start capping the day numbers. When we get to 200, we're just going to have to close shop and say, if you want to come to law school, you have to come in the evening, because we just don't have the capacity to handle that. But again, look at the number of out-of-state residents that are willing to put a seat deposit and come to Southern University Law Center. That number is significant. It's so significant that we had to adjust our curriculum to change about 3 of our courses to accommodate the fact that many of them might go back out of state. So we got to prepare them to take a bar exam outside the state of Louisiana. And the last thing I wanted that we handed out to you is this issue about black students in the LSAT and coming to law school. This is a major problem across the country. And the article is entitled, "Do Law Schools Limit Black Enrollment with the LSAT?" That is the Achilles heel of black applicants in this process. Average score for African American applicant is 142 on the LSAT versus 153 for a white or Asian applicant. Hispanics are about 142, 143 also. So that is the battle that we face, and the competition from law schools across the country for black applicants means that Southern University Law Center will have fewer black applicants and fewer black matriculants, simply because there's a smaller pool. The number of folks that are competing, the number is fierce, and you can see it even with respect to the actual committed applicants. You'll notice that only 97 of the 215 applicants who have committed, who actually have put down the money, are African American. That is a reflection of what's happening in the market. So one day when somebody says that Southern University Law Center is no longer a majority black law school, you'll have to say that's true, because this is what's happening in the market. It's nothing we're doing that's different. If you look at our 75th and average height, we're actually pegging our number closer to what the African American student LSAT score is, and yet we still can't get those applicants to come to Southern University. So I thank you for your patience and time and listening.
Thank you, Chancellor Pierre. We have a few questions. We'll begin with Dr. Davis.
Yes, Chancellor Pierre, going to your double-sided handout sheet, looking at the 2016 cohort, I noticed on here, and I believe I counted right, that there are 4 institutions with the double asterisk that have no longer have law school operations.
That's right.
Or discontinued operations. What were the criteria for to stop operating? Was there a number somewhere in there where a law school would cease to operate?
Well, one of them is that those schools were having a very tough time meeting the 75% ultimate pass rate. They were recognizing that was a problem. The other part of it is that essentially during the decline in applications from about 2009 to about 2017, there just weren't enough people to fill in all the seats that were required to keep those schools going. So this is a process about economics, and it's also, in some cases, the ABA was aggressive to try to shut down some of these schools' operations. And one of the maybe intended or unintended consequences, if you'll notice another asterisk of schools that did not meet the new standard bar passes rate. And we're going to see next year who comes up in the hopper for sanctions and potential closure, because under the new standard, if you don't correct the problem within 2 years, they're going to say you don't meet the standard, and then everybody's got to decide what they're going to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did that complete your question, Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Whitfield.
Yes, Chancellor Pierre, actually a comment or two and then a question. The first thing is, and I think the board should be aware of this, is one of my shining stars from the Law Center, Professor Angela Bell, received the National Civil Rights and Social Justice Award. So she'll be speaking. I think she's going to be the keynote speaker, and she also received that award. So there's some really good things coming out. I actually met her through Chancellor Pierre, and we were doing some stuff with the Alton Sterling case, and she's a powerful speaker, and the students love her. So just want to let everybody be aware that that's happening, I think, later on this summer, Chancellor Pierre?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd like to know, Chancellor, this is kind of a two-part question. What are some of the meaningful initiatives that we're doing to help our first-time takers pass this test? I'd like to see that score a little bit higher. And also, I'd like to know a little bit more, and maybe you don't have that information today, but the demographics of the African-American students that are coming in our school and how they're performing on this test as well.
So the first thing, actually, Ms. Jeffers stepped out because she's about to go do what we have asked them to do. We have two things. Mr. Hall, Terry Hall, figured out a way for us to be able to afford to pay $1,000 towards the bar prep fee that Barbie charges. So Barbie normally charges $3,500 for a bar prep course. We have negotiated them down to a price of $2,300, and then $1,900 if you're going into a public interest career. And we pay $1,000 towards that, so that reduces our students' out-of-pocket costs to about $900 to $1,300. The second thing, which is very, very important, is that we have a supplemental bar review where we actually bring them in to test them. We do some supplemental stuff. And we started out originally with a small cohort, then we just grew it to as many students as we could handle. And the board has been very, very supportive of our initiatives by approving our ability to perhaps bring supplemental pay to those people who do that. And we're investing somewhere about $150,000 this summer for that purpose. Some of you may have heard Ms. Jeffers say she's got to go take an exam at 3 o'clock today. Yes, because we test them every Friday, and we give them a real live process of this is what you're going to be facing when you take the bar exam, because we want that to be something that they have gone through from a repetition standpoint, so they're not afraid of the process. You know, if they don't have as much knowledge, if they can understand the process, you know, sometimes you can get through that thing struggling because at least you're confident about the process. So those are examples of things that we're doing. Plus, a lot of the upfront now supplemental supplemental courses now that we're offering in the curriculum, and we just passed. The faculty just made it mandatory for the incoming class. The class is going to start in February, to take at least one of those courses as a required course, plus a second one based upon their performance will be required with a grade attached to it. So again, we take very seriously, because the ABA has hung its hat on the idea that this bar passage will be your downfall if you don't pay attention to the bar passage race for your students.
Did that conclude your question, Dr. Whitfield? Okay, I don't see any other questions. Chance to Dr. Gaines. I'm going to have 1 second. Okay, it's on. Go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say to Chancellor Pierre, this was an excellent presentation. And my question is, how often will the board receive these kind of updates?
Every year, because here's what's going to happen. The ABA is going to put this out every year. In other words, they've done it now the last 2 years, and it will be on the national blotter for everybody to observe. They have decided that this is a national priority. So just like Dr. Renee was able to send me pieces and articles, everybody will it'll pop up somewhere in some newspaper across the country or in some place where you'll see it. It's like a rankings game now. So like U.S. News and World Report, everybody wants to know where you are, how you doing, and so forth and so on. And there are a lot of pundits out there now that have made the law school rating game their means of making a living. So whether we like it or not, we're in a national market. We are a national law school. That's what we are now. We're no longer a state law school. We're no longer a regional law school. We are a national law school.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gaines. Mr. Shorty.
Just a comment, Chancellor. I just want to commend you on looking at these metrics and making sure that the bar passage number is higher. It seems to me, at least since when I graduated, we seem to have focused on what the problems are, and we're taking very positive steps to increase those numbers. This presentation was something that I don't think I had a full understanding of how the metrics go, and I'm happy to see that we're looking at that and really are focused on making those numbers higher and making sure people are successful, and so that they're not wasting their time and they can actually be able to practice and get out there and pass the bar, at least on their first or second try. So I just want to commend you for obviously there's a lot that goes into this, and I think your leadership on making sure that these numbers increase is a pivotal part of getting the numbers higher. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shorty, and thank you, Chancellor Pierre. Members, we move now to item 5E. I'm going to request a motion to delete the item. This presentation really aligns with item 6C, but in discussions with Dr. Belton, we feel like we need to get just a little bit further down the road, and we will probably have a P3 presentation either at the June or the July meeting. A lot of colleges and universities and public entities, period, are engaging in public-private partnerships to undertake certain building campaigns and so forth. And I thought it might be beneficial to the board and the university community at large just to sort of hear a presentation on about best practices in that regard. One very recent example of a P3 is the Gateway project down at LSU. I don't know how many of you have seen the transformation near Tiger Stadium and the development that's taken place. That was a classic P3. And I know that Dr. Belton has some plans that are currently in development. And a P3, it might just be the delivery model that works for the institution, provided all the numbers work out. So we're gonna bring that back maybe at the June or the July meeting. So thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that item 5E be deleted from the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Thank you. We now move to our action items. 6A, approval of the April 12th minutes. Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those are, yes, sir.
I'll wait until we take the vote.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We go now to action item
Mr.
6B.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I move that we take action item 6B, F, and G in global.
B, F, and G in global. Is there any objection to that? It's been moved. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. Congratulations to Chancellor Ellis and Pierre. Well, that was easy. We go now back to 6C. Did we carry item B, 6B? We did. Okay, I just want to make sure. We go now to action item 6C, request approval of MOU between SUBR and the Southern University System Foundation relative to the development of additional student housing. Dr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and actually in keeping with the comments of the chair relative to opportunities that may reside with public-private partnerships, in light of our focus on Imagine 20,000 as relates to the SUBR campus, and in keeping with some significant enrollment trends that SUBR is now responding to, the university found it an imperative at this time to begin to develop a response to those trends through housing. I'm going to ask that our Chief Counsel, Ms. Deidre Roberts, explain this structure that we're trying to develop. But in essence, we are hopeful that we could provide for this campus upward to 700 beds, potentially 900 beds, whereas we would actually realize at least 500 by the fall of 2020. Attorney Robert, would you elaborate on it?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board. What you have before you is a memorandum of understanding between the university and our foundation to engage in discussions to bring the foundation in as our primary developer to meet the needs that we have with growing enrollment and housing that's going to be coming offline within the next year. We have 4 residential housing units that are scheduled for demolition within the next several years, some as soon as this summer. And so we also have a growing enrollment need with our student enrollment trending up. And to address that concern and growing infrastructure concerns that we have with regard to other issues that are arising on campus, such as lighting, infrastructure needs that we have, potentially a gateway project when you come across campus onto Harding Boulevard, just to grow and increase our presence in the community overall. What we would like to do and what we've put before you is for you to consider allowing us to engage with the foundation, to bring them on as a developer, to bring leadership and assistance to the university so that we can meet these needs. What we've contemplated in this agreement is to address our campus residential housing, a gateway potential project, which would be an entrance into the campus from Harding Boulevard, and living and learning housing projects as they develop over the years. What we've seen as a trend in higher education is the ability for universities to provide living and learning spaces where students can remain on campus, have mixed-use developments that meet their other needs aside from educational needs, and to provide that commercial opportunity to them as well. And so we ask your approval and review of this MOU to allow us to move forward with the foundation in developing those plans. There is a need that needs to be met by August 2020 with regard to housing for underclassmen. That's the 500 beds that the president has mentioned to you, as well as potentially a dining hall. Beyond that, we're looking at expanding into upperclassmen housing, which would serve graduate level students that we have on campus, as those numbers are tending to trend upwards, as well as you just heard from Chancellor Pierre with regard especially to the Law Center. So we're looking to move forward with our potential federation, with the Law Center, with the Baton Rouge campus, and our foundation as one voice to bring these much needed improvements to the campus.
Ms. Roberts, we have a few questions. Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Robert, what exactly is MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, and what is its legal effect?
The memorandum of understanding that you have in front of you would be an agreement that we would enter into with the foundation, whereas
In general.
in general,
In general, right, for folks who aren't lawyers
I'm
and
sorry.
who may not deal with this on a regular basis.
In general, a memorandum of understanding is where both parties understand the terms that they are entering into to potentially move forward to a more formalized agreement or contract that will be deliverable.
And its legal effect?
Its legal effect is that it binds the parties unless it's non-binding, and this particular one gives us the ability to come out of it with a termination clause. This one is for 5 years, but it gives us both the ability to terminate and walk away with very minimal engagement.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Any other? I see no other. Just one observation, Dr. Tower, before you move, is, and not only for the board, but just for the community at large and people who are watching our meeting via live stream. This is a much needed next step if we are going to realize and recapture the enrollment where we were some time ago. And one of the things that I've asked Dr. Belton to do is to make sure that we have broad engagement about what we plan to do with this project. Broad engagement amongst members of the board, broad engagement amongst members of the staff, faculty, student body, but broad engagement among this community and our alums, and just to make certain that all of the stakeholders feel like that they've made an investment in this. I'd like to see us have some charrettes, quite frankly, and invite people in to see what we're planning to do. And just to enlarge a little bit upon what Ms. Roberts said, you know, we've got some development that's underway on Harding Boulevard, and the overwhelming majority of the people who come onto this campus never get to the back of the campus where all of our residential housing is. And so while we've done a good job back there over the last 10 or so years in terms of transforming that area, I really would like to see us, Dr. Belton, give some added attention to enhancing this Hardin Boulevard corridor. One of the goals of the foundation was to, in fact, do that by purchasing all of the vacant land south of Harding. And you see the new innovation center over there, which is an incubator for small businesses that are currently using it. You see the Valdry Center, which is nearing completion. It's going to be a wonderful facility. And so we see the natural progression in hopefully the Alumni Center getting its facility off the ground, which could be a component of this. And it's my understanding that the president has had some conversation with Ms. Thomas, and she's like-minded. But I think that's Bradford Hall that's across the street. Is that right, in the curb? Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right, Ms. Flynn? And so all of those areas certainly can withstand some
Yes.
much-needed sprucing up, such that we create that wow factor. I've also asked them to, you know, we talked about this at another board meeting, and Dr. Ammons gave some insight on this about how colleges and universities now are transforming unions and making them tech intensive. And you know, these millennials and the students that we are recruiting, they are tech intensive. They live, eat, die on this computer that they carry in their pockets, right? And so I'd like to see whether or not the numbers can work for something to be done with that, because it's fairly dated. I think we got a lot of possibilities that are obviously reliant on meeting these projected enrollment increases, because otherwise we won't be able to fund it. So I'm very interested to see how those numbers flow. But I do want to ask Dr. Belton that you make certain that this board is well aware of what's going on at every step of the way. And I'd like for there to be broad engagement in this university community about what we're doing. That's my only point. We've got a few. Would you like to respond? Yeah, I'm going to come to you.
Yes, and we're clearly on the same page. In fact, this afternoon we have we anticipate having another discussion about this project, and have a scheduled meeting with the executive board of the Federation on Tuesday of next week, because we do think this project represents an opportunity to leverage all of the anticipated projects that we've been pondering over time into one, and where we have the opportunity to take advantage of this opportunity zone to which Southern University resides. It provides for a financial model that can push out this project in an accelerated manner. You should further know that we are, in fact, trying to concentrate on Harding Boulevard. You have witnessed the work at the F.G. Clark Activity Center probably within the next month or 2 months at the most. Not only will we bring that building online, but just from an aesthetic standpoint, we are working with contractors such that we would have the SU logo on the top of that roof with etching that speak to Southern University in blue and gold. Quite frankly, we have gotten a commitment from facility planning to begin to demolish some of the more antiquated facilities on campus, to include Jesse Owens, Bradford Hall, such that we could provide more green space and really begin to develop that area. You are further aware of the degree to which Southern University was awarded a stipend through Home Depot, where we are going to establish a project where we can enhance the landscape along Harding Boulevard at the beginning of E.C. Harrison, even at the checkpoint. That looks like it does not, I think, represent how people would engage with the university. So as we continue to shape these initiatives, it would be our interest to engage with members of this board, the Facilities Committee, and our stakeholders across the country, such that we could, again, respond to our goals as it relates to Imagine 20,000, because indeed, that's something that that's what's guiding us along the way to help shape infrastructure on this campus that in and of itself would appeal to students to be a part of this university community. So I certainly welcome the challenge and engagement that I've received from the chair and members. And certainly we feel like this could be a game changer for Southern University in keeping with the opportunities that the Opportunity Zone legislature has provided to Southern University.
Thank you. We have some additional questions and comments, Dr. Belton. Mrs. Smith.
Yes, Dr. Belton.
Yes.
I know that in the past we've had a shortfall of housing.
Yes.
Here at this campus. Can you tell me specifically or close to specific how many housing or beds are we short with the present enrollment?
Well, so we have approximately 2,300 beds at present. And quite frankly, we are responding right now on the Baton Rouge campus to trend data that speak to as many as 1,700 students, first-time students enrolling at SUBR this fall. And so we are now being somewhat strategic in trying to determine how we're going to respond to that level of growth. Because our first priority in terms of housing is to be able to host freshmen. And so, so we are actually developing referral lists, questioning, quite frankly, whether or not we have to move upperclassmen off campus or in alternate sites as to respond to the trends that we're looking at right now. But it is clear to us that we will have a shortfall in housing in keeping with our goals and the strategies to which this board has adopted as relates to conditional admissions and things of that nature. So if we are successful, we believe that there is a strong likelihood that we could have by the fall of 20,000 at least 500 new beds on campus as a phase one. I'm sorry, 2020? Yes.
So
what did I say? Oh, 2020. Yeah, by 2020, at least 500 additional beds, and again going forth, expand that to approximately 200 to 400 additional beds.
So you're saying that presently, it looks as if we're more than 1,000 beds short already.
Yes.
So there is a vast need for multiple housing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And to displace and to retire, some facilities that are that needs retiring, quite frankly.
Did that complete your question, Ms. Smith?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Davis.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just an announcement that came over my computer that the legendary coach Otis Washington passed away this morning at the age of 80. And great guy, one of my golf partners. We're going to miss him. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I was going to ask Dr. Williams, rather, to add that to our resolutions when we got to H. Al Harrell, who is the CEO of our foundation, is like a son to both Linda and Otis Washington. And he's been there all night, and he called me this morning about 5 o'clock when Coach Washington passed. So we certainly want to keep the entire family in our thoughts and prayers. And thank you for. Okay, I don't see any other questions or requests to speak? I know Dr. Tarver moved the adoption of item C. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. We move now to 6D, a request for approval of a joint declaration of intent between the Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries of the Republic of South Africa and the Southern University Ag Center and CAFCS. Dr. Walker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The month of May is a very beautiful month. May 10th through the 12th of 2000, 19 years ago, Nelson Mandela received his honorary doctorate degree from Southern University and LSU. May 3rd, 2017, Nelson Mandela grandson visited Southern University and President Belton. And on May 23rd, the Minister of Agriculture, Janetta Maslungu, sent an email to me, said she returned from South Africa, and they are very excited of the possibility and hope that the resolution that you all have before you will be approved, and they are looking at bringing a delegation to Southern University in the near future for an MOU. So this particular declaration of intent deals with agriculture, research, extension, and child development. They need to train more extension personnel. They need to train more individuals in research. And they are looking at Southern University as one of those partners in this endeavor. So this is the basis of the document before you, which is called the Joint Declaration of Intent. So I request and hope that this will be approved by the board today.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Walker. We have some questions. Dr. Tarver.
Yes, I don't have a question. I'd like to compliment Dr. Walker and his staff on developing this MOU. As you know, we have had a long-term relationship with the government of South Africa, and we appreciate their reaching out and producing this document, which will create future programming opportunities for our faculty and for research opportunities as well as training opportunities. And we view that in a very positive way. So thank you very much for this.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tarver. That completed your comments. Dr. Davis.
Yes, I just want to commend Dr. Walker and his staff, and certainly the past chairman and president for all of his work in South Africa. But some of you may or may not know that Southern University has worked in Southern Africa, East Africa, and West Africa. And I happened to come here to Southern University on an international project called 211D. And we were in the Cameroon. And we actually set up a Department of Economics at the University of Yaoundé. My first trip to Africa was at Yaoundé. And at one time, we had projects going in East, West, and Southern Africa simultaneously, as well as in the Caribbean islands and places like Jamaica and so on and so forth. So I want to commend you who are trying to get us back on track. We do have students in several countries now, including Senegal, where we've had a long-term relationship. But I just want to commend you and your staff and hope that we can get it going again and we can rise to the top, because our brothers, our cousins across the sea need help. And if you've been over there, you've been in villages, we used to visit, and I know I'm preaching now, but we used to visit 4 villages a day, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Dr. Barbara Carpenter, who's Director of International Education, came up with a lot of creative stuff. But it's one thing I can say, when we went over there, they did 3 things. 1, they fed us. We had to eat the food. And I never got sick from eating the food. Secondly, they had some form of entertainment. It might have been dancing, it might have been high wire walking, it might have been walking on hot coals, you know, fire eating. I mean, just all kind of. And then we had a prayer. We had a Christian prayer and we had a Muslim prayer. And we did it 4 times a day. So it was a learning experience, and I think during my travels there for about a 15-year period back and forth, I learned more from them than I think they learned from us. So I'm just praise you for getting back going. And at sometimes when Dr. Tarver is not going, I want to go in his place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. I don't see any additional requests to speak, so it's been moved by Dr. Davis and seconded by Dr. Tarver that we approve this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. All right. We're moving now to item 6E, a request for approval of an MOU between SULC and the Mississippi Board of Choctaw Indians. You've got a lot of face time. They don't want to hear from you anymore, John. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it. We've already disposed of items F and G. We move now to item 6H, our resolutions. Dr. Williams.
Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Vice Chair. Our May 2019 resolutions and commendations are as follows. Commendations are extended to Board Member Tony Clayton for his service to the university as a member of the Board of Supervisors for the past 18 years. We acknowledge his leadership and philanthropy and his trusteeship and extend our sincerest best wishes for continued success. Condolences to the Ernest Neighbors family. Mr. Neighbors was a longtime resident of Lafayette, Louisiana, and was an educator and coach in Lafayette Parish School System. He is a former member of the Southern University Board of Supervisors. He passed away Monday, April 29th, 2019. Condolences also extended to the Willie Beatrice Hughes family. Mrs. Hughes was a resident of Denham Springs, Louisiana, and the mother of Miss Juanita Hughes, executive assistant in the Division of Information Technology at Southern University at Baton Rouge. She passed away Thursday, May 2nd, 2019. Condolences also to the Larry Lawrence Mativia family. Mr. Mativia was a resident of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and a former educator and longtime coach. He was a graduate of Grambling State University, where he was an all-star athlete in football. He also played professionally in the NFL as a member of the New Orleans Saints. He is the father of Louis Mativia, media and information technology librarian at the JBK Library. He passed away Thursday, May 9th, 2019. Condolences also to the Gloria Adams Washington family. Ms. Washington is a native of Baton Rouge and is the sister of Brenda Walton, administrative assistant in the Office of Student Affairs at Southern Baton Rouge. She passed away Thursday, May 9th, 2019. Condolences also to the Patrick Sean Rogers family. Mr. Rogers was a resident of Mansoura, Louisiana, and the brother of Christopher Rogers, Director of Technology at the Southern University Ag Center. He passed away Monday, May 20th, 2019. Our final condolences to the legendary Coach Otis Washington family. Coach passed away this morning at the age of 80 and leaves to cherish a wonderful wife, Linda, and a host of relatives and friends. He will truly be missed. Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the board, this concludes our May 2019 commendations and resolutions.
Thank you. Before we have a motion, we recognize Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In that, Dr. Williams has noted that we have lost Attorney Clayton from our board, and with him having a busy schedule as he is and probably some other irons in the fire, he may or may not be able to return to our board. However, I would like to ask the board, and with the president's permission, some of the administration and staff to write notes or letters of appreciation recognizing him for the services and the work that he has given to Southern University over the 18 years. And if you would give them to Dr. Williams or Ms. Maya Banks, I have not asked them, I am asking now, and we will compile them, make a book of notes and letters, and give it to him as a gift from us. I think he would appreciate it, and certainly we as a board and Southern University members would be expressing your thoughts to him that he can pick up and read at a later date.
Thank you. That's
Thank
a good
you.
idea. And colleagues, each of you received a very thoughtful email that he wrote announcing his departure. I know some of us responded to it. I did. And I would encourage you that if you haven't had an opportunity to respond to it, to do so. I specifically called him, Mrs. Smith, subsequent to sending my written response to figure out a date that he could come to the meeting. He told me, I'm not coming because he thought Pat and I were going to beat him up if he came. So Pat and I are still committed to work on getting him here for dubious reasons. So we now recognize Mr. Reverend Henry.
I would just like to take this time out to say thank you to my colleagues and friends for the many kind acts, text messages, and phone calls, and visitations during the loss of my mother. Thank you all very much. Very confident.
You're most welcome. God bless you and your family. Is there a motion to adopt the resolutions? It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been properly moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Hearing now, the ayes have it. Before we move to informational items, I want to recognize a childhood friend of mine. I grew up on Avenue B, and I think he was Avenue H. And he was a star quarterback here at Southern University, Mr. Nathaniel Harris. Stand up, Harrison. Stand up, Nathaniel. And he was an outstanding athlete in football, soccer. He could just about play anything involved the ball. So we're very happy to have you here with us. You got any eligibility left? You got a little too old. We move now to informational items 7A, the Assistant President's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hold on a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to speak, Mr. McGee? Okay, I'm sorry. Will you just hold 1 second? Mr. McGee, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
It warms my heart, being as a young man following my mother and father to work in the Lafayette Parish school system. I was treated to a lot of different experiences as well as people. So it warmed my heart when I saw Miss Robert bring her fine son that I have followed on Instagram and on Facebook and have not been able to meet in person. And it warmed my heart even more when I saw that he had on cowboy boots. So with that being said, I'd like you to stand up and introduce yourself, young man.
All right. And thank you, Mr. McGee. Thank Mr. McGee for putting you on the spot. Well, thank you. Yeah, he did. He handled it very, very well.
I like those cowboy boots.
Yes, sir. No doubt. We thank. Yeah. We thank God for his mother's gene contribution. So we will go now to item 7A, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I just want to offer a couple of updates. As you know, we've had the great pleasure of being able to provide for this board some context as relates to the unveiling of the Southern University strategic plan, fulfilling the promise. And as of next month, it would be our aim to finalize that document and bring it before this board to include finalizing the strategic plan for the Southern University Baton Rouge campus, that being Imagine 20,000, if we are so fortunate to receive your support and endorsement of those plans, you should also know that the university plan on facilitating a tour that will begin shortly thereafter across the state, where we will be speaking to stakeholders about how Southern University will be going forth to establish a greater presence and to respond to the workforce needs of this state. The staff has put together a little video, something that speaks to how we're going to launch this, and they compelled me to kind of share that with you today. So why don't we just run that right quick?
We have a promise to keep. The Southern University System's strategic plan, Fulfilling the Promise, A Pathway to Excellence, is our roadmap through 2025. This plan is intentional and includes bold strategies.
I think one of the unique characteristics of HBCUs is not only to provide students the technical abilities that would enable them to have promising careers, but also to develop leaders.
Our strategic plan has 7 goals. Goal 1, commitment to student access and affordability, to attract and retain a diverse population of traditional and non-traditional students.
I am in the United States Army ROTC program.
My issue experience has definitely been one for the books.
I'm a midshipman lieutenant commander from the Naval ROTC.
Coming into college, I was a member of the world-famous Human Jukebox Marching Band, then became the Student Government Association president, and recently became a Spring 19 initiate of Beta Sigma chapter Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Goal 2, commitment to academic excellence and student success, to continue to develop and offer outstanding technical and academic undergraduate, graduate, and professional programs that respond to local, regional, and statewide workforce needs.
When you think about students and the principal reason that they go to college to attain a degree, that is to go into a career. It is important for Southern universities to ensure that they are offering degrees that align with workforce demands.
Goal 3, commitment to institutional effectiveness and accountability by promoting an evidence-based planning and assessment culture that is focused on continuous improvement and centered on each institution's mission.
The Southern University System Strategic Plan is called Fulfilling the Promise, Pathways to Excellence. It represents the vision of our President Chancellor.
The plan provides direction. It gives guidance. At this time, it is of critical importance that we leverage the resources of all the campuses that make up the Southern University system.
Evidence-based planning and assessment is everything. In fact, the 5-phase planning and assessment model initiates and operationalizes this model. So we begin with planning. Where do we want to be in the next 5 to 7 years? That's reflected in our very aspirational goals and what we call our SMART objectives: specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-bound objectives. Metrics with hard data behind it.
Goal 4, commitment to scholarly research, discovery, and entrepreneurship, to engage students, faculty, and staff in solving critical societal problems.
Healthcare is changing considerably. There are people living longer with complex health needs, and to meet the needs of that population will require more proficient care. Efficient care comes with the added benefit of having nursing research and engaging in evidence-based practice and best practices.
Goal 5, commitment to fundraising and philanthropic support, to launch fundraising campaigns designed to increase overall giving in support of student access, success, and completion.
We have had the pleasant opportunity to engage with alums over the course of the last 5 years to talk about the long-range vision for the university, and many of them have stepped up to the plate significantly and provided sizable gifts to continue to expand the capacity of the university.
Goal 6, commitment to improve campus life through infrastructural development, to provide an aesthetically pleasing, safe, secure, and comfortable campus environment that promotes student access and measures of student success. Goal 7, Commitment to promote the Southern University brand through outreach and global engagement.
When people think of Southern University, they think of quality, they think of proud alumni for the university, competitive athletic programs, and just a strong, strong institution. When you hear the two words, Southern and University combined, we want that to resonate with individuals from the standpoint of excellence, pride, tradition, and not just excellence, academic excellence, excellence really in all that we do.
Southern University is experiencing a renaissance, a transformation, and it all begins with this strategic plan. And we need you to be a part of continuing the wonderful legacy and perpetuity of our beloved institution. We are Southern.
Well, this video is rather timely. But thank you, Mr. Chair. And just one other thing, and again, just one other thing. We want to just kind of give you an update further on the efforts of the search committee that's bringing leadership to trying to identify the best fit for the Southern University Agriculture and Extension Center and Dean of the College of Agriculture, Family and Consumer Science. And I was going to ask Dr. Williams if she would provide for you that update.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chair, members of the board, the Southern University Agricultural Chancellor's Search Committee has met several times. Our most recent meeting was actually this past week. Dr. Sahu is one of the co-chairs, as also Dr. Gina Eubanks is also serving as one of the co-chairs. They met on May 17th to develop the evaluation instrument as well as the interview questions. Their next meeting is set for May 30th, in which they will screen the packets of the interested individuals. There are over 20 people that are interested in this position that have submitted information through the portal at this time. Their next meeting will be held to screen those actual packets, at which time they will then decide who will be coming to campus on the 27th. And then they are poised to recommend 3 candidates to the president by July 1. So that is the update for the Southern University Ag Center search at this time.
That represents my report, Mr. Chair and members. I would entertain any questions that you may have with regard to either.
I see no request to speak, Dr. Belton. Before we move to the individual campus reports, I want to recognize the Chair of Personnel regarding, to update the board regarding Dr. Belton's evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think on my intent was to forward the official transmittal, putting you on notice that your self-evaluation is doing, and then the full board would evaluate you the month after that. However, I need to review the transmittal as well as the document, and then get approval from Chairman Rutledge. So I'm hoping to get that to you on Monday. I'm gonna apologize to you publicly for my delay in that matter. But to the board members, the process is the same as it has been every year since I've been here. We're gonna send Dr. Belton his official transmittal letter on Monday, setting forth the dates for him to return his self-evaluation to us, which will be at the prior to the June board meeting. Then at the July board meeting, well, couple of weeks prior to the July board meeting, we're going to send out the instrument. Some of you are extremely diligent in returning the instrument. Some are not. I would ask that we all be diligent in returning the instrument to the board's office, because we have to disaggregate the data in order to give the president a good data-driven idea about
where he's at and where we're going. So with that being said, again, Mr. President, I'm going to apologize for not having this out to you today, but you will have it hand-delivered to you on at some point Monday during the day. And thank you for your time and consideration, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we move now to our campus reports. We move with Dr. Mims-Devizan.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
To the members of the board, I would like to first and foremost thank those of you who were able to attend our commencement ceremony, where our speaker was Dr. Carmen Walters, who's the 14th president of Tougaloo and also a Southern University at New Orleans alum. Secondly, I would like to thank you for your approval of our conditional admissions policy that was approved on yesterday. This will afford additional students an opportunity to receive a formal training and additional wraparound services that they need. So again, thank you. And I would also like to thank you for previously approving the MOU that afforded our students the opportunity, as well as the faculty, to travel to Egypt. That was very rewarding, and from that is fostering relationships with the two universities that were part of that MOU. We will be hosting our first transfer degree between Delgado Community College and Southern University at New Orleans on next Friday at 10 a.m. Again, this is the first reverse transfer degree ceremony that will be held between Delgado and Southern University at New Orleans. We also had as our guest speaker for the College of Business's Honors and Awards Day program, Mr. Terrell Boynton, who's the general manager for DXC Technology. And I would like to say that Southern University at New Orleans has surpassed its leads with the DXC Technology Partnership. That concludes my additional comments. The Chancellor's monthly report is enclosed within your packet for further review.
We have a question, Dr. Mims-Devizan. Mrs. Williams.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the reverse transfer ceremony. That was a collaboration between the two chancellors, one at Delgado and Dr. Devizan. And we were studying that students are more successful depending upon their levels of degrees. And so we went back and identified 178 students that left Delgado and went on to SUNO, but had enough credit hours to receive an associate's degree. So we've identified a few of them that would like to come back. And on next Friday, the two chancellors, as well as the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs from SUNO and Dr. Edeboye, and I'm sorry, from Delgado and Dr. Edeboye, have been working together. So the reason that we wanted to push it is because it is the first reverse transfer degree program, but it is the first reverse transfer degree ceremony, and it's now a policy at Delgado, and it's actually helping us to go back and identify those students that have not only gone to SUNO, but to UNO, Loyola, and all the rest of the area schools. And so it's important because of this policy. We're starting with SUNO, and then we're going to be able to do it across the state. And so Dr. Devizan, I wanted to give her some credit for working with us on that, because to identify those 178 students was not a simple task. I know my supervisor gave me a task, and he says, Arlanda, I want you to be there because it's actually going to be your first real official act. It's the day after my Senate confirmation hearing. And so I said, well, I'm going to beg upon the rest of the board to come with us as well. But it's the first of many steps that we're making to partner the two schools. And just to compliment, again, the mayor said that she couldn't at one time get UNO and SUNO to sit in the same room, and now we're all working on the same team. So thank you for working with us, Dr. Devizan.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for those comments, and thank you, Dr. Mims-Devizan, for your report. Dr. Ellis.
Good morning again. Just quickly, the Chancellor's report is included in your packet. However, I do have a couple of comments. Again, for all of those of you who were able to attend our graduation on this past Monday. I would say the best graduation ever at Susla, hour and a half. Dr. Belton forwarded me an article that it was about Southern University at Shreveport, acknowledging us as one of the safest campuses in the nation, actually number 12 nationally, ranked by the National Council of Home Safety and Security. So that was a nice surprise and a nice award as well. Also want to acknowledge one of our former graduates, Miss Caitlin Jenkins. One of our former employees, Coach Albert Fowles, sent me a picture of her graduating from Rutgers this past May. She was a star athlete on our women's basketball team, went on to get a scholarship at Rutgers and will be playing overseas in Germany professionally beginning this August. So I wanted to recognize her and all of the support that Coach Fowles has provided her in supporting her career. And then finally, just want to thank each and every one of you all for continuing your support of me and my leadership team as we look to move Susla forward in support of the system's vision. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. And speaking of graduations, I want to apologize. My graduation, it seems I had a conflict for every single graduation. My son graduated from high school Monday night, so I think you understand why I couldn't be in Shreveport. I had a funeral for the Law Center's graduation. I had a conflict with a family member graduating for SUNO, but I know some of our other board members did attend. The vice chairman attended. I know Ms. Smith and Ms. Williams, and I think Mr. Bartholomew were at the SUNO graduation, and if I missed, I know we had a number of board members attend the SUBR graduation, but I hope nobody dies next year. That I don't have those conflicts, so because I really want to make certain that I attend each of your graduations next year. So we move now to Dr. Walker.
The College of Agricultural, Family and Consumer Sciences and SU Ag Center that are linked report is in your packet. I would say some few brief words, and I would have two of my assistants to come up and gloat on some successful things they have been able to achieve. But I'll start. The hemp legislation is looking very good. On yesterday, I was able to find a partner with the university whenever the hemp bill is passed for funding, because we know that with hemp, the CBD oil will be very good for our medical marijuana vendor, Allura. I would like to commend President Belton, the Honorable Gaines, for attending the Meet the Jaguar in Alexander last Thursday. It was a great event. Also because the College of Agriculture, Family and Consumer Sciences had a certificate workshop in the Ag Center. All that culminated on that day. And it was just good to see the good words of how the Ag Center Extension Program is helping the Rapides Parish area. So it was good to see my president and the Honorable Gaines there, along with the executive team of the Ag Center. Also, I'd like to let you know that the College of Agriculture, we have 3 summer programs, about 90 students in our summer programs. As you know, over 44% of all college students work in Ag, Family, and Consumer Sciences. We have 3 summer programs for a total of about 90 students. We would also be giving them ACT preparation, and these young men and women coming from all around the state of Louisiana and across the country. The second annual apparel merchandising fashion show was held 2 weeks ago, and I definitely would be remiss if I didn't mention that, because Dr. Butler will be definitely texting me as I leave here. It was a very good event. It was 3 hours. Faculty, staff, and students participated. And also Southern Lab students also participated along with the principal. The next thing the person I'd like to call up is Dr. Cheryl Atkins to talk about the dietetic program, a couple of minutes.
Dr. Walker, we do have 2 board members. Do you want to pose your questions before they speak or after Dr. Davis and Whitfield? You can wait. Dr. Davis, you You can wait? Okay, thank you.
This is Dr. Cheryl Atkins. She is the chairman of Family and Consumer Sciences.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair, my thanks to the members of the board and to our interim Chancellor Dean for giving me this opportunity to give you a very quick overview of the dietetic internship program here at Southern University. In my opinion, it is the unknown gem of the Southern University system. And I say that because we, on Wednesday of this week, celebrated our 25th year of operation on this campus. We had our 25th anniversary, and we graduated our 25th class of interns. And I'm quite sure not very many people know much about the dietetic internship. I'm currently the director of the dietetic internship here on campus, and I'm also chair of the Department of Family and Consumer Sciences. But I must say that the program had its inception in 1994 under the directorship of Dr. Bernstein McGee. The program was developed to reflect a need to provide a pathway in Louisiana for the constituents that we specifically serve at Southern here to become registered dietitians, nutritionists. The second impetus for this program was to increase diversity in the dietetics workplace. For those of you who may not be aware, the dietetic internship is a post-baccalaureate degree program. It is a nationally accredited program under the auspices of the accreditation body for the education in nutrition and dietetics, which is an arm of the Academy of Nutrition. We're proud, ladies and gentlemen, to let you know that this program has had continuous accreditation for the last 25 years. We talk a lot about accreditation in our system, but you need to know that there's one program that has been accredited for 25 years, been through 3 accreditation cycles, and we have never lost our national accreditation. So for that, we are very proud. The program is a full-time program on campus. It's housed in the Department of Family and Consumer Sciences in the Human Nutrition and Food section. It's 2 semesters long, 1 academic year, and our students do supervised practice experiences in several different facilities throughout the general area. We also want you to realize that Southern is one of only 8 of the historically Black colleges and universities that offer this particular program. This is particularly impactful when we know that nationally we have 256 programs. We are one of 8 in the HBCUs who carry this program, and that is saying something. We have thus far graduated about 200 students in this program over the last 25 years, and these students come from all states within the United States and its territories. I even have a few international students who have been in our program, from Mexico and from China, and I have a student from Japan coming in the next introduction of the program in the fall. There are 16 facilities in the surrounding area that support our program. A few of these 16 facilities have been with us for the full 25 years. Children's Hospital in New Orleans, for example, has been with us for 25 years. Our East Baton Rouge Child Nutrition Program, as well as the Louisiana Office of Public Health, have been with us for 25 years, and also Pennington Biomedical Research. The other facilities that support our interns and provide them with supervised practice are facilities such as Baton Rouge General Hospital, the City of Baker Child Nutrition Program, East Louisiana Mental Health, Fresenius, Auctioner Medical Center, Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital, Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center, Capital City Family Health, Slidell Memorial, and Southeastern Community Health Center here in Zachary. To sum it all up, we're very proud that we have been able thus far, ladies and gentlemen, to provide 1/4 century of preparation for dietetics professionals for this changing dietetic environment. And we have been able to do that very, very successfully right here at Southern Baton Rouge. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. We do have, did you have another person, Dr. Walker? Okay.
The passage rate for the dietitians is 92%.
Good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning.
Chair and honorable members of the board. I'm going to stand here first and tell you I'm not the Janice Snowden you received the alert about yesterday. I'm not in Walmart stealing vodka or toilet paper. so from here on out, you can call me Janana, okay?
It's good to know that.
So I'll try to be brief in this, but much has occurred since we last reported. We cleared rezoning with Metro Council. We've also cleared suitability by state police and ag and forestry, and this consisted of the federal clearance of our finances, the business integrity, facility location, and ownership interest of the company. Also, all fingerprinting and background checks have been cleared. We're working with ag and forestry to finalize our SOPs and of the temporary grow facility. Now, once this is done, this actually allows us to go in and drop our seeds, which we're looking to do pretty soon. They did come out and do a preliminary inspection. They told us what we needed to change and actually fix up for them to give us approval for that. Our phase 1 blueprints are still in permitting and with the fire marshal right now. So that's what we're working on to get the phase 1 building, which will be the building that does the seed to sell actions. As mentioned by Dr. Merrick and by Dr. Walker, the House bills that we have been following, more specifically the hemp bill, that bill will really help us a lot. We did pass or what have you, but what it would do is reduce the cost of the medicines to the patients, which is our concern, but more so, it would actually provide additional resources for the university, because what it does is allows us to produce more medicine at a lower cost, which would actually generate more funds for us. The only other thing is that we did meet with the commissioner and members of LSU for a meeting on last week, and what that was for, it was because our Representative Chuck Snyder, he called an oversight hearing because there were some issues with emergency rules that LDAF had proposed. So we had that meeting, and we actually worked with them to develop the new rules, and those should be coming out shortly. But that is my report. If you guys have any questions, I'll take them at this time.
We do have some questions, Dr. Snowden, and I don't know
Yes,
if
sir.
they're directly for you or for Dr. Walker.
Okay.
But we'll start with Dr. Davis.
Yeah, no question, just a comment. One, I visited Las Vegas recently with some family at a family event, and some of them visited the dispensaries there, and some of them came back with some products.
Did you visit this dispensary,
No,
Dr.
I
Davis?
didn't. But when I saw the products, I said, well, maybe I should have.
No, don't tell any names here.
But I do want to commend Dr. Snowden and Dr. Reuben Walker and his whole staff to say that we visited yesterday, Dr. Belton and his staff, and board member Gaines, and site visit. And let me say that I am impressed.
Thank you, sir.
And I believe that we're on our way, that we have a good plan in mind. We've made some serious progress. And the site, I kept driving by there. Where's the site? Where's the site? And I even used Google, and I still couldn't find it. So it's well hidden. But I'm impressed with the facility they have now, particularly the office available, plenty of room for expansion of staff and so on, and then also the planned facilities. It looks like you're well on your way to having a successful program. And I just want to thank you and wish you the best and
Thank you,
continue.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Now we go to Dr. Whitfield.
Yes, Ms. Snowden, this is for you.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted some clarity. Now, you kind of answered, but I just wanted some clarity on the actual facility itself. What's going on as far as groundbreaking? Where would it be? I know we have a temporary spot, but the final facility.
Okay, so for the temporary spot that we have, this is just a 6,000 square foot building that we have. So we're using 3,000 square feet right now of that, which we have a pod set up inside of it that will actually be for the grow right now. They're working on the phase 1 building, which is a 9,000 square foot building. And they have the shell up, which everyone saw yesterday. They have the shell, it's insulated and everything, but we're still working on and waiting on the permitting for that. And we had to address some concerns of the fire marshal for that building. So what they're gonna do from the 9,000 square foot building, they're gonna build another 60,000 square foot building, because what you have to realize is this market is going to grow, and especially when CBD is brought into play, that produces so much more. So that gives us the capability of growing much more and extracting much more, which is going to really boost the economy, not just for, the growth of the plant, but also the people that we need, the personnel that's going to be there and have to work as well. So you need the space for that. So the plan is for a 60,000 square foot building to come on board.
And when do you think we'll have some product?
We're still on schedule to have product in early fall.
As
So
in
around August
2019?
Yes.
And the reason I asked Chairman DeMoore is because there's been some concerns about not having enough product for everyone. So even if our sister school is ready as well, if we don't have enough product, they probably don't want it out because people are going to get their medication, but not able to get it refilled. So,
well, from an economic standpoint and supply and demand, we could charge higher with
charge
low
like
demand.
Make it too high where people who really need it can't get it, though.
Did that complete your question, Dr. Whitfield? Okay, Dr. Tarver.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me that this subject we've been discussing here warrants our getting a monthly update, and it would be included as an agenda item, not as a part of the Chancellor's report.
We
so
certainly
keep
will.
up with the matter.
We certainly will. I think that's an excellent suggestion, and Dr. Belton and Dr. Williams and Ms. Banks, let us make certain that we put this as a standalone item for our future agendas. Okay. All right?
And before
So you'll be on the hot seat every month,
that's fine. That's
Dr.
fine.
Snowden.
That's
and stay
fine.
out of Walmart, okay?
I will, I promise. But I would, before I exit, I would like to thank those who spend every Tuesday morning on those calls with me. So that's our general counsel, and also Ms. Janine Tate, Dr. Walker, and Mr. Tavares Walker. But I want to thank those because they are really helping me to get this through. And also Ms. Marla Dickerson of the Law Center. She's been working with me, in moving this forward. So I want to thank all those.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Snowden. Thank you, Dr. Walker. We move to the Law Center for a brief presentation. Yesterday and today.
Yes, well, thank you, Chairman Rutledge. I want to thank the board for all that it's done for the Law Center, including renewing my contract as Chancellor, and the board's participation in graduation last Saturday, where Attorney Benjamin Crump was the speaker, and the board's support of House Concurrent Resolution 24 by Representative Glover. And I'm going to thank the board for their participation that is coming up on July 7th to the 9th for the Tunica Biloxi Rural Economic Development Conference, that will get more information out and provide registrations for you all to come, because I think it's an opportunity for the Southern University system to showcase its power and real excellence in Central Louisiana, so that we can again be a magnet for students in that particular area. And June 1, 2019 is the application deadline for those students that want to come to law school. I just got an update. We're up to 744 applicants. So our goal is to get up to 800 plus. I want to thank Dr. Snowden for mentioning Ms. Marla Dickinson, because she's been working very, very well with her. We'll present an item next month on the board meeting related to that. Actually, Aliyah is the contractor that's provided 2 of our students with an internship this summer, which is very, very helpful, because we have spent a year doing a class related to law and medicine, focusing on medical marijuana and the law, policy, and regulatory and compliance issues related to that. So again, thank you all for everything you do for Southern University Law Center.
Thank you. Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, President Belton, colleagues. Southern University Baton Rouge continues to achieve academically and athletically. I want to highlight the 2019 spring commencement. Nearly 600 graduates walked across the stage to receive their degrees, including 11 PhDs. The university awarded Doctor of Philosophy degrees in environmental toxicology, science and mathematics education, public policy, and urban forestry. In addition, there were 145 students receiving master's degrees. Our chief student marshal, Chastity Simmons, who was an online student, led fellow graduates to receive bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in disciplines, as well as commissions to the U.S. Armed Forces. Louis Nick Joseph, a Southern University grad, who has made a long-lasting and positive impact on his community, the state, and the nation, was awarded an honorary degree during the 2019 spring commencement exercises. The newest alumni heard from the critically acclaimed actor Omar J. Dorsey, who delivered the commencement address. On the athletic front, our baseball team joined our women's basketball team in capturing the SWIPE championship. They had a compelling victory over Alabama State University, and we want to congratulate Coach Jackson and the baseball team. And that concludes my comments. The rest of my report is included in your packet.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. We move now to, yes, ma'am. Hold up a second. I gotta hit you real quick so I can activate your mic. Okay. Okay. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make a comment and also just ask for some added information. I noticed that last, maybe a few meetings ago, you were working toward some higher heights on the education, in the education college. And so can you give us anything that has transpired, and what are you planning for the future for the education, College of Education?
Well, as you know, we have a comprehensive review that we're undertaking with our program prioritization initiative, where we're looking at all of our degree programs and aligning them with workforce needs. We are at the stage now where we are going to call in a facilitator to assist the university in developing recommendations that we will give to President Belton and ultimately to the Board of Supervisors. It is our plan as a part of the program prioritization initiative to not only make recommendations toward academic program realignment, if you will, but also structural or organizational changes. As of now, I can't tell you how vast those changes are going to be, but as we are taking a look at the data, there are some issues that I think we may be able to address by taking a look at the organizational structure of our academic programs. One of the areas that we are looking at is the education discipline here at the institution. We have formed a task force. That task force has recently received a report that was done by Hanover Research to help guide us in our development, future development of that discipline here at the university. And our intent is to have that as a part of the total package that we will present to the president and to the board.
Thank you. And I also attended your inaugural activity for education, and I don't know if the board was totally familiar with what you were doing, but I thought it was really a very nice introduction for us improving the educational program in the College of Education. So
Well,
thank you again.
Well, thank you. I mean, we're part of an exciting initiative to produce more African American males for the classroom. There is a critical need for African American teachers, both men and women, and we think that Southern University can be a part of the solution to that problem. So we are taking a look at it from a scholarly approach, and again, we're hoping that in the very near future we're going to be able to bring those recommendations forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Thank you, Dr. Ammons. We'll go now to item 8, other business. I just want to announce that the Southern University Alumni Federation is holding its annual leadership summit in New Orleans. I think it's June the 28th through the 30th, maybe. And I've asked Dr. Renee and Ms. Banks to provide you guys with some information about that for those of you who are interested in attending it. As you know, they went from hosting an annual conference to every other year, and in the interim, they host a leadership conference. This year's leadership conference is going to be in New Orleans, and so check your emails. You'll be getting some information from the board's office about that for those who may be interested in attending. Mr. Fondale.
Thank you. I do want to recognize again, Dr. Ammons mentioned it earlier, our baseball team for winning the SWAC championship on this past weekend. They put up they had a tough game, the second to last game that they played, and they were able to defeat Texas Southern and just went and ran with it, playing Alabama State. There was a great turnout that was there. Jaguar Nation definitely was there. While I was on the campus, we had quite a bit of time. It was a 4-hour weather delay before the game the championship game actually started. We had an opportunity, at least I had an opportunity to kind of ride around the campus up in New Orleans, and been able to see a lot of the stuff that we broke ground on. It's starting to come up relatively quick. And I know we only have a couple of meetings in New Orleans. I would hope that Dr. Desamont would consider maybe after our next committee meeting, when we're in your town, maybe you can give us a tour of your campus and some of the facilities that you have on your campus when we're there on next month also. I also want to mention too, in reference to our issue votes, moving forward from this point forward, I would hope that our external affairs person, Ms. Merrick, can get along with our chancellors and come up with a uniform plan. We do know we want to make sure that our students are aware of elections that are coming up and encouraging them to go out and vote, also and encourage their friends to go out and vote. So I would hope that we could have a uniform plan throughout our system to where we are encouraging our students to be a part of the civic process as far as voting also. One other thing too might be Dr. Belton mentioned earlier about 1,000 new students that we're going to be having. And I would imagine that we have a plan going forward with each one of our campuses as far as having a plan to deal with the registration challenges that we have. And either at our next meeting or at our July meeting, y'all can make a presentation under the enrollment and management to kind of give us an idea as to what the game plan is moving forward, so we can be ahead of any challenges that we may face moving forward. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fondell. Dr. Whitfield.
Just a brief statement, and I think Sir Donald will agree with me. If any of you get a chance, please visit Southern Lab and go walk through the locker rooms. They are done. They are beautiful. I'm tired of you texting me, Eli, but I appreciate everything that you did. Eli was texting us literally at 3 in the morning. Look, this is done, this is done. But in all seriousness, we appreciate your diligence and the efforts that you put forth, and it's looking very, very nice. So I think you guys will be proud. It's a very functional, usable locker room that we can all be proud of.
Thank you, Dr. Whitfield, and we certainly again thank Chairman Henry, Mr. Guillory, Dr. Belton, and others who were instrumental in getting that done. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It's ordered. Thank you.